We've got a lot of injury news to cover on today's episode as the Browns get ready for week 3 against the winless New York Giants. Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, starting things off with a relative order of, I would say, importance for the player and interest by the fan base. So let's start off with Nick Chubb. We don't have any concrete new information on Chubb, but what we do have is a little bit of speculation and dots being connected. If you saw yesterday, the Browns signed somewhat of a notable running back, Royce Freeman, former third-round pick out of Oregon by the Broncos, to the practice squad. Now, when I saw this, my first thought was, well, I know Pierre Strong Jr. is dealing with a hamstring injury, so maybe it's just a replacement for Pierre Strong Jr. And then I started to think a little bit more about it, right? And when you look at the Browns running back room, I mean, outside of a Jerome Ford 36-plus yard run on fourth down against the Jags, we haven't really gotten any encouraging runs out of Ford, Strong, or Foreman. I thought Foreman had some good runs early in the Jags game, but no, I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we were like, yeah, this Browns running back room without Chubb is kind of kicking butt right now. So then I started to think about it a little bit more, and maybe I'm the crazy person in the room, but I wondered if this was hey, Nick Chubb is on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks. We're approaching week 3. We don't think we're going to be seeing him anytime soon-ish, and we don't really like what we saw to Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman. I mean, it's got to speak some level of volumes where the Browns decide we're going to go with Deontay Foreman to open up week 2 after starting Jerome Ford in week 1. So I don't think even internally the Browns are uberly confident in what they have in Ford and Foreman. And with Strong Jr. injured, I started to wonder, if the Freeman signing is also we might not be seeing Nick Chubb in the near-ish future, and we want to add a little bit more to our running back room. Mary Kay did an AMA on Reddit yesterday, and of course she was asked about Nick Chubb and when the Browns could get him back. And she speculated it might be as late as week 11. She was kind of eyeing the Browns bye week in early November, late October, as a possible soft target deadline for, hey, let's get Chubb back post-bye, and we'll give him that extra week during the bye to really get 100% healthy. So if the Browns think they might not get Chubb back until November, and they're not super impressed from what they saw out of Ford and Foreman, and then you add in Pierre Strong Jr.'s injury, maybe this Royce Freeman signing is also pointing towards Nick Chubb might be a little bit longer than we initially hoped for. So the pinned comment on today's episode, and YouTube usually likes to put an ad break right around this spot, what week will Nick Chubb return? Shoot your shot down below while the ad video rolls, and then we'll revisit this pinned comment once we get Nick Chubb back, and we'll see who got it right. Moving on to the next injury, Denzel Ward. We'll kind of go rapid fire for some of these guys. He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He only played 11 snaps against the Jags. However, almost like every time Denzel Ward gets injured, he sounds super upbeat and optimistic about when he'll be returning and that he won't be missing much time. I mean, he said, I'm feeling great, man, feeling good, ready to go to the game. Ready to get to the game and ready to roll. I feel good, ready to go. So clearly very little concern on the Warden side about his availability for week 3, which is definitely important because they have what looks to be a pretty easy competition in the New York Giants. But remember, Malik Nabers has been one of the best receivers in football to open up the season. Denzel Ward this year, though, 8 targets, 1 reception, 3 pass breakups. I mean, he has been a lockdown corner. But Nabers has been a true number 1 target for the G-Men. 193 yards, 1 touchdown. He leads the NFL in receptions of 20 or more yards with 5. So Nabers not just like chipping away at defenses, but also ripping off big explosive plays. So with Malik Nabers coming to town, it would be great to have Denzel Ward all over him on an island all Sunday long. And then you really take away the Giants' best threat on offense. Now, speaking of the Giants, we have a Giants channel here at Chat Sports. It's hosted by Marshall Green, and we are going to be doing a sub battle with them all week leading up to Sunday. So if you want to beat the Giants in week 3, it starts right now within the walls of Chat Sports. Go ahead and subscribe if you have not already, and let's catch up and pass Giants now in subscribers. Next guy up, Myles Garrett. He was dealing with a foot injury last week coming out of the Cowboys game. He did not practice on Wednesday. I'm not very concerned about Garrett. If he doesn't practice the rest of the week, I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns go, hey, it's week 3. We have a long season ahead of us. Plus, Daniel Jones almost sacks himself half of the time. So if there's a game where we don't desperately need Garrett's services, the New York Giants are one of those teams. Now, it's still the NFL any given Sunday, so you don't want to just pull back completely. But I think this could be a good opportunity if Garrett's like, hey, after giving it a go, I'm still Myles Garrett. I'm still Superman. I can still force a strip sack, but keep an eye on him. I wouldn't be shocked if he does not play on Sunday, but I think that'll really become evident based on the practice this week and whether or not he is limited or full on Thursday and Friday. All right, next one up, David Njoku. We did miss him in week 2 with an ankle injury. He got rolled up on in the Cowboys loss, and Kevin Stefanski, to open up practice this week, said the Chief is likely out for this Sunday. So if you have him in your fantasy lineup, take him out right now. He should be out after last week, but don't hold your breath on seeing David Njoku this Sunday. Now, the Browns did not place him on IR with the other guys they did last week, so my guess is if he's out 2 weeks, then we're probably going to see him in week 3 post-injury, because otherwise you would have just placed him on IR if he was going to miss the next 4 games. Now, before we get to the rest of the injury news, including the offensive line, today's show is made possible thanks to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams like the Browns or the soon-to-be hopefully playoff Guardians play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So if you want to score tickets to a Browns game or a playoff baseball game and you want to save $20 in the process, download the Game Time app today and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply, but create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time has so many great deals. Go visit them first before going elsewhere. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Let's talk about the offensive line now. Dawand Jones is dealing with some knee soreness. He missed a little bit of time on Sunday, but he said that he was going to practice this week, even if he was a little bit idle to open up the week of practice, and that he would be good to go on Sunday. So it looks like the Browns will have their temporary starting right tackle in Dawand Jones on the field against, a pretty good pass rush from New York. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. So you want as many guys as possible in front of Deshaun Watson. Now let's talk about Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin, who are both still coming back from their knee surgeries, have not played yet this season. They've been going in and out of practice, limited one day, not practicing the next day, limited the day after that. We just can't really seem to get much momentum or continuity going with either player. I'm not very encouraged, though, by what Jedrick Wills said at practice today. I'm getting there. I don't know when I'll be playing. Up to the coaches. Maybe this week, maybe next week. Just depends. That does not sound like a guy who feels like he is super close to returning. And for the 3 players coming off knee injuries from last year, Chubb, Wills, and Conklin, I'm no doctor, but if you were kind of power ranking, who would be the quickest one back? Wills being the youngest of the 3 and also sustaining his first knee injury, I kind of pointed to, Jedrick Wills, or I guess Dawand Jones too, but I would kind of think Jedrick Wills probably one of the first ones back. Instead, I think it's going to be Jack Conklin, who had a much more upbeat comment going into practice today. I'm feeling better and better every week, so I think there's a good shot if this week goes well, we'll be ready to roll. I'm holding out hope that we could see Conklin in week 3, maybe start at left tackle for James Hudson. He was working at right tackle a little bit, so we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But, the Giants, they've got, like I mentioned earlier, a pretty formidable pass rush. Burns and Thibodeau, and then we can just kind of run through the rest of their defense here so you guys can familiarize yourself with them. But it's not going to be an easy outing for this offensive line. The Giants at 0-2, they may not strike a lot of fear in opponents, but they do have some strengths, and Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence are two of their biggest ones. So you're going to want as many of your offensive linemen out there as possible. But if we're talking long-term for a second tier, I feel like Conklin is very close, but Wills, I don't know if there was just a major setback in the rehab or what. A lot of times teams like to keep this under wraps. But yeah, you can pencil me down as concerned when it comes to Jedrick Wills and his availability in the future. Sometimes you see second surgeries get required. I mean, that happened to Nick Chubb. I mean, last year when he had his first surgery, there was some level of optimism of, hey, it's not as bad as we initially thought. And then fast forward to November, and he has to get a second surgery. So we'll have to wait and see with Wills. Conklin looks like he could be back as soon as Sunday. Wills, don't hold your breath. Now, who you got for this week? Brownies or G-Men? Let me know in the comment section below who you got. I'm going with the Browns. I feel like this is going to be an absolute, non-televised statement win, right? The country is not watching the Browns and the Giants play. 0-2, 1-1. The country's somewhat fed up with Deshaun Watson and the way the Browns performed on, Fox's Game of the Week in Week 1. So this is a great opportunity for the Browns to kind of fly under the radar, beat up on the Giants a little bit, continue to build off of that offensive success in Week 2, and get Deshaun Watson rocking and rolling going into a much more meatier part of your schedule later on. All right, before we let you guys get on out of here, though, let's give some quick shout-outs to the Brown and Orange Club. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, Slow But Sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph Deporte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, and Scorpion. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you would like a shout out, come hang out with us this Sunday during our watch party. $50 super chat, and we'll add you to the club for shout outs all 2024 season long. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. If you enjoyed it, give us a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. But also feel free to hit me up on Twitter, @MatthewPeedy. I'm always talking Brownies over there.